Welcome back to the Dented Puck. It's been
Too long.
months. We're at months now, right?
Yeah.
I think we're at months, but the joke is like, when was the last time I saw you? Like 10 days ago?
Yeah.
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 Oh man.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, but we've been busy.
Yeah.
Been a lot of good events.
A lot of good events, a lot going on, a lot of planning, a lot of stuff. Gosh, last time was last year. So this is the first episode of 2024. Kind of. So let's go through it. Dirk, we were all together in Jersey.
Yeah, Jersey was a lot of fun.
About 5 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 4 weeks
It's
ago.
been that long
Not
already?
even.
Wow.
Less than 4 weeks ago.
3 weeks.
The date. So just so we're sure, the date we're recording this right now. I don't know what the date is. The date we're recording this
March.
is March. Hold on, I got a calendar. March 14th, and we that was the day you guys flew in. So the 15th was the day the event started. Yeah, that's right. Everybody got here on Valentine's Day. How cute. Kira loved that.
But yeah, that was so a month ago.
Yeah.
It was Jersey. So give us a brief rundown of that.
Yeah, so Jersey was great. We had what was the first thing we did? The first thing we did was go to the Jersey game. No, we had the ice time before.
Yeah.
Was that at McKay?
No, that was at the rink, at the Devils rink, at their practice.
Oh, that was at the Devils practice rink. Yeah, so the Devils were nice enough to let us play in their practice arena. I got there late. Managed to miss my train, even though I was standing there the whole time. But that's a story for another podcast. But so I got there late. I got out there in my first shift. I heard she's gonna make a noise, and I hadn't seen my sister in like 6 months. And so as soon as I heard her voice and she got the puck, I went right after her and just gave her a good body check, took her right off her feet. And she said she knew immediately. She's like, I know it's you as soon as you hit me, because nobody comes in like that. And I was like, I'm sorry. But so it was really good.
Respond to barking.
Yeah, no, I heard her go, and I was like, yep, that's Sitska. So it's always good to see everybody. I love to see my sister and all my buddies, and we had Dougie there. I mean, we had a good turnout. I can't remember how many people. We had a lot of people from Blue, bunch from White Division, and everybody got to play. All this on the same sheet of ice. Basically, we were all playing together. So it was a really good weekend, a good development. But the one of the more interesting parts of it, I guess, we got to go during the New Jersey Los Angeles Kings game. We got to go out there in between periods or whatever, which it was interesting because like we were like really rushed. They gave us like here you got to walk down all the way. You're walking through this back area, and you just keep walking and walking. You're like, how big is this rink? And then they take you into this room, and they're like, all right, you guys got like 10 minutes. You need to get dressed now. And so we're all getting dressed. And then we finally get out there, and we walk along the red carpet to go out there. And all of a sudden the red carpet ends, and we're all just kind of look around like, are we supposed to walk on concrete? And then some guy comes out and says, no, don't worry, guys. I'm going to roll out the red carpet for you in a minute here. And which is kind of cool. And I'm like, where is Hollywood? He's missing out. But no, it was kind of a little bit of a fiasco with they had like the little nets out there and the big net, so there was like 4 nets out there to crash into. So naturally, I had to hit one of them. But no, it was a good experience. The crowd seemed to actually be really into it. At least the ones that were still sitting and going out for drinks and stuff. A lot of the kids were beating on the glass. As we were getting off the ice.
I think once that we like actually got it moving, like the fact that I think Schramm and Blake were stacked on my side every time it was coming, I'm like, that's fine, good. Blake gets the puck, I'm like, Blake, go. I'll let you make the pass. Go. But yeah. I mean, it was for the experience and the learning experience, it was awesome. Was it too bright for you out there?
It was pretty bright. but it was they were good lights. They weren't like some rinks are really bright, but they have really awful lights. So like the light, it's hard to explain, but for some reason I seem to be able to see pretty good out there. I wasn't looking for the little kitty nets, like the 2 foot tall nets. So that's why I ended up running over that. But other than that, I could see fairly good because the rest of the weekend, it seemed like the rinks were all dark after playing under all those TV lights and stuff. Man, there was a lot of lights in there, but it was pretty bright. But I wish they hadn't played music, but I don't remember even hearing the music. There were like people like, "Oh, why'd they play music?" I'm like, I said, I thought they turned it off, but I guess I just tuned it out as best I could.
When they asked, and it was funny because when Tariq asked, he asked on the phone, and he's like, "Hey, I sent you an email." He's like, "What kind of music would be appropriate for you guys?" And I just laughed. I was like, "How about none?" And he goes, "Yeah, duh, that makes sense."
Yeah, no,
And and that's a lot of what it is working with our community. Like, even those that care want to do things, it's just like, yeah, you know what? That makes sense. And even us sometimes, it's like, oh, yeah, duh, that makes sense. So, but this was a learning experience for everybody.
I'm not complaining. I'm just, it's the first time we did this. So, I'm hoping it'll grow each year and that they'll understand our needs and why music would, like, I would rather have someone announcing, talking and saying, "Hey, what you're watching right now are blind athletes playing blind hockey." And they all have, like just explaining the game a little bit. That I can tune out a lot easier than music playing. Oh, yeah. So at least that way people would be understanding what they're seeing in real time. I think they got it by the end. I think they started to realize, I think these guys can't see good. And that's why the puck makes noise. I think it took them a minute to figure it out.
They definitely started it. Like, I stepped on the ice when they definitely said members of the blind hockey community. So it was definitely like that was announced, and it was announced when volume was down. So the ones that were seated were definitely like, everyone who was like, who's getting on the ice, that was definitely made clear. So yeah, we'll see.
No, it was awesome. Really thrilling. Yeah. No, and like people like, oh, what was it like, with all the crowd? Like I honestly couldn't. The only time I heard the crowd is when I thought the other team scored a goal, but the goalie must have saved it. But the whole crowd made like an "oh" sound or something like that. And that was the only time I even noticed the crowd. It's because I was waiting to see if we scored, and I was basing my, that was the only time I noticed hearing the crowd at all. But other than that, I just tuned it all out. What did you think, Drew? You were out there, right? No,
no, I watched.
I don't remember. I thought you were on Yellow. No, that's right. You were there behind the scenes. That's right.
Yeah.
He used his VIP status to get downstairs.
Yeah, he did.
No, it was, I mean, honestly, it was awesome. It was funny because there were a lot of things that just were miscommunications, but so many people were like so apologetic, and we're like, no, dude, we got out there, we were able to play 5-on-5, and we showed them just exactly how good we could be. I mean, at one point, like, the rush was coming, like, Schramm to Blake, and someone was rushing the net. Like, they had a good shot on goal. Like, it was good. It was good hockey, and that was the idea. Yeah. And I mean, the idea is to propel that and utilize that to as an example, so that we can set a precedent for other teams to do it. I mean, blind hockey night is 1 out of 41 games. It shouldn't be hard for half 2/3 of NHL to do. You can get blind hockey players out there to demonstrate what it is. You have a table, and you could support the start of a local team.
Yeah. No, and that's what it's all about is getting the word out there and letting people see that, that we can play the game of hockey, and then it can be entertaining to watch as well. So.
Yep.
That's a good segue.
And so how was I didn't get to go. So Drew, tell me, I didn't get a chance to really talk to you guys a whole lot since then, but how was St. Louis?
St. Louis is good. It was very warm. It was like 60 degrees on the first night, and then it was pretty cold the second morning, but it's very interesting to play pond hockey when it's 60 warm outside. But the ice was really good. They
did such a great job for how the weather is. If you look at the pictures are beautiful. The sun was out all weekend. Like we were playing pond hockey, could have done it in t-shirts.
Yep.
Yeah.
We won a game, which was the first, besides beating Jared that first year, was the first game we've won at any of these.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you use like those little nets, right? It's not even a net; it's like a little.
It's like the wood
black
box,
thing. Oh,
and it's a left and a right. And with ours, like our puck is what is there like an inch gap, Drew? It's not much. It's probably a 6-inch wide gap, right?
I was gonna say with the big puck, it's got to be even harder to score in that thing.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah. Some of these teams though, there's one team that put like 3 in from, I don't know, 30 feet out.
Man.
Like,
wow.
And me defending them.
Well, if you got the hand-eye coordination.
Yeah, no, dude, like just dead on, and like sauces too. Like they were throwing good ones from far out, and I just turned around. I'm like, nice shot, dude. Nothing I could do about it because you're defending the box at that point. It's like blind hockey. You're defending the goalie and defending down low.
Yeah. But no, it was a good experience as always with the Dog Nation guys. Josh gave a little spiel at their reception, so hopefully you guys will have some good audience participation in St. Louis in the next few weeks.
But it's kind of funny. I don't know where the post was, but it's a Devil's post that his name came up like 10 or 11 times. It was really funny, and I was just like, ha 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 ha. And I was like, yeah, dude, he's a solid man.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see what comes of it. But what was it? 2 weeks after that was Bridgeport? Last week?
Yeah.
Bridgeport was Saturday.
March 9th. Yeah, that was
Bridgeport was Saturday, March 9th. Yeah. And I played the whole game. And that is a joke. A double-sided joke, because last year, thanks to Amtrak, who obviously didn't have electric trains growing up, they didn't know that if you have a dead spot where your electric train needs to go through, you need to go fast enough to get through it. So I played 7 minutes last year of 36. I played 35 minutes of 36 this year. That was a lot of fun. It was an awesome game. The Bridgeport Islanders always show up. They did a great job with us. The game was awesome, top to bottom. We introduced 3 new players to blind hockey. We introduced 1 new player completely to blind hockey, 2 New York Metro players to gameplay, like 1 more New York Metro player to high level play. Like it was a great event, and I'm sure the same way on Hartford. Like it was a great event, and it keeps going.
Because a lot of those guys don't get to go to the tournaments, for one reason or another. So the Bridgeport event is like really the only version, the only time that they get to really play, a decent,
but it's also like
competitive game of hockey.
Yeah, it's also that introductory game too. Like it's one of those that like Christian definitely like he is totally blind, so he needs a little bit of guiding out there, but can definitely go play a blue division game. And Sarah already like she played 1 practice on Sunday where I'm skating around going, she's a natural, and it's like I'm just laughing because she is like, it is so obvious that she's a natural. Passing, shooting, stick handling, skating, girls got it. And I mean, It just started this year. And like she was out there, and the one thing she needs a little bit of help on is positioning, which with obvious.
Yeah, but that comes with time. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. But like she's 100% got the game.
She's already picked up the basics that quickly.
Dude. Yeah.
Usually just picking up the basis of the game takes several years.
Yeah, and there's a lot different of a game coming from our rink to a real rink. And if you haven't listened to the podcast or are unfamiliar, my team practices at the Islanders' old practice facility. And one of the rinks is a shooting gallery, more or less.
It's like a quarter sheet of ice,
almost a half sheet. So like it's good to learn on, but not good to go full speed on. But honestly, the event was great. I have to congratulate the Brailers. I talk trash, and they called me out for talking trash. I didn't realize that I was just talking trash. But they put it to us with their all-star cast because they were not evening out the teams this time. And hey, we battled. Thank God for Christine. Christine really held her ground out there. Timmy stood
she's
up,
a beast.
But yeah, man, Alex is a stud, man.
Was Victoria there too, or just Christine?
Just Christine. Shanley played goal for them. He saved them 1 or 2 times.
He's a solid goalie.
Dude, you know my vision. I was playing more or less like I was making a point to try to get to the blue line if they could get the puck in deep. But I knew I was playing 95% of the game. I knew I had to play. And the second I see Alex, grab the puck. The first leg he pivots to, I pivot. I cross over to that side, and I'm just sitting there shadowing Alex coming straight out of his zone because I know it's coming straight down the whole way. Yeah, I mean, he's an awesome player. He's going to be in Toronto too. It's fun to play.
And how did Vinny do? A guy named Vinny, I think he's from Rhode Island. That was his first.
So yeah, so Vinny. This was Vinny's first event. I've met Vinny on Instagram. Like, that's how my relationships start. Like Austin Matthews over there. But he grew up playing. He's a car guy. He's one of those that I knew all I had to do was get him on the ice. And he's been trying to come to one thing, trying to come to another. And then he was like, yeah, I'll come, but I'm only going to bring skates. And I'm like, yeah, that's what you think. And I was like, I've met you. I know your size. Congratulations. You're fully equipped now. And that's what I said. I was like, because at that point we knew we were already going to play that lower level line. And I knew we had, and I was like, dude, you have no excuse because I have a girl who was going to play her first game and a totally blind kid who's going to play his first game. So you have absolutely no excuse. And I mean, that's what he said. He was ecstatic that he did it. And now he's going to go out and buy equipment that fits him.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But he had fun at least, though, right? He had a good time.
He had a ball. And you know what it's like. No matter what level you played, if you played for the love of the game and you can play again and not be the blind guy, and have to deal with being and it being your entire community and everybody on the same level, it changes things. So, and I mean, I hope that's the case down in Florida. Man, I'm on top of the segues today. Yeah, thanks to one of the USA Hockey posts, we found a guy in South Florida that's interested in starting a team, and within the Panthers footprint. So hopefully the Panthers Foundation and the Devils Foundation can get talking, and we can kind of work. That'd be great because we don't have. Yeah. That'd
be the farthest south we have going. So.
Yeah, man. That's where we go for summer events, training camp.
And how cool to be! We'll be able to say we have blind teams on the East Coast from Maine to Florida. That'll be nice.
And me and Ashbrook can save you when you drown.
Yeah, right. Hey, I'm a good swimmer.
Dirk, you're going the wrong way.
That could be a thing. That could be a problem. If I get too far from land where I actually couldn't see it.
There's waves down there though. That should help.
Yeah, that should help. Unless the undertow pulls you out, then it doesn't matter what you do.
But no, we'll be in Canada. I love Toronto.
Yeah, that event's always a good one.
Yeah. So and it's their 10th anniversary, which is cool because next year's Classic in Minnesota will be our 10th anniversary. So hopefully
nice. Cool.
Bigger, better, and just as pizzazzy.
Yeah, that's
pizzazzy.
Cool.
Pizzazzy. That's what I'm calling it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, recording. But so while we're talking about this, flashback to Josh's former career. It's Pie Day.
It's a wonderful day for pie.
It is 3.14. It was always a day I could get away with doing absolutely nothing and eating a lot of sugar. And pizza sometimes, depending on the principle.
Right. It's a pizza pie, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Easy way to do it.
And that's a good segue because the last time we had a guest on this show was right before Thanksgiving. And
are we going with the pie segue?
Going with pie segue, man.
And then how about what's a very good what's the number 2 item on Thanksgiving? Mashed potatoes
from Idaho.
There we go.
Our guest was from. There we go. Man, we are not good at this.
Sorry, Nick. Nick, we are very rushed. Poor Nick. Yeah, whoever gets the first episode of the season it's always a rough one. Yeah. So right before Thanksgiving, we interviewed Nick, who is from Colorado but currently lives in Idaho, and it was good to get him on because he's such a quiet guy. Unless you like sit there and corner him and start asking him questions, it's hard to get. Sometimes I don't even know he's there. I'll be like, where the heck is Nick? And he'll be like, I'm right here. I'm like, Jesus, Nick, where'd you come from? It's like Batman. He comes out of the shadows, dude. But no, he had a good interview, and I'm glad that we're finally getting his story out there. Sorry for the late release, Nick. But yeah, we're trying to get back on track. What did you guys think about Nick's?
No,
it's long since we interviewed him.
It was awesome getting to know him, and it's good to show our community that if you want to stay in hockey, there is a career for you. He does that is his job. He works at a hockey rink and he drives the Zam, and
that's a cool job.
He fortunately has the not right eye, the correct eye, which is left, and a B3 visual field there to be able to do it. And I was like, Nick, if you ever come across a right-hand drive Zamboni, you got to send it to New Jersey. So, but for real, Nick's an awesome dude and an awesome
great hockey player. Yeah, he's a good line mate, good teammate. So, so this will be Nick's interview, and I hope everybody enjoys it as much as we did. All right, how's it going, Nick? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's winter time.
Busy work week. Yeah,
it's hockey season.
Hockey season's in. Busy at your job.
Oh yeah.
So let's dive right in. Let's find out a little more about you. What exactly is your vision? I remember that you have tunnel vision, but I can't remember what it's from. I don't know if it's RP or.
Yeah. So it's RP.
Yeah.
And I was diagnosed around the age of 7.
Okay, so you found out early.
Yeah, real early. I guess the only good part about my circumstances, it's been a really slow degeneration or losing my sight. So it's been lucky being able to experience a lot of things throughout life and still have somewhat clear vision. These days, though, it's definitely getting worse. There's every year there's always something that I notice, that whether it's light sensitivity or the peripheral vision slowly closing in more and more. There's always something every year. And 31, I'll be 32 in February. And it's the life of RP, man, going to
progressive eye disease is like Stargardt's, same idea. Mine started when I was early too, so I know what you're going through. I still remember being able to see better, but as time, the longer through time I go, the less I see. But
yeah, I guess the nice part about a degenerative eye disease is gives you time to learn coping mechanisms, and throughout the years you kind of, whether it's at work or skating, whatever it might be, you got that time to kind of learn how to adapt, which has definitely been a fortunate aspect of it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good thing about, not a good thing, but like you said, a benefit to having it early, because it forces you to become adaptable and be able to adapt to different situations, and as your vision changes.
I don't know that I should be working in a refrigeration power plant and driving a Zamboni still, but
don't you dare say that.
Hey, I won't tell anybody if you won't.
I'm using you as a reference.
It's a lot of hands-on, it's feel.
Josh just needs to find a right-hand drive Zamboni. It's probably somewhere in Europe.
Yeah, Yeah, maybe Japan.
That's where I'm getting it from.
So I know that we've had people with RP on before, but is it usually a pretty fast decline, or are you kind of standard bell curve for? I know it's different for everyone, but if that makes sense, like, are you on the right track? The worst way to put it.
Yeah, I think I'm on the right track. It definitely it varies from person to person, and yeah, the thing about RP is there's so many different variants of it. I know a guy back in Colorado, Michael Stone, who instead of no peripheral vision and no night vision, which is what my initial degeneration was, I lost my night vision right off the bat. He lost his central vision, and then he had like great night vision, but his light sensitivity was through the roof. So he would wear, sunglasses at night because the lights would be just blinding. And that's kind of starting to happen to me. I've got all these lamps that the lights kind of point upward, at the ceiling instead of, down at you.
Downward. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it definitely varies from person to person, but I think overall it's a bit of a slower progression as far as losing sight. I do know there are some cases out there where, I mean, hell, we found out the gene, it comes from my mother's side, and she was diagnosed, I want to say in her mid 50s or something. And hers is also kind of slow, but her brother, my uncle, he was a freaking pilot his whole life and then got diagnosed with RP. I think also in his 50s. His has been a little bit.
I didn't think you could get diagnosed that late with that. I thought 20s maybe. Huh.
Yeah, it's really weird, as far as scientifically, as far as that goes, the chromosomes and hereditary wise, it kind of all depends on just your luck with the chromosomes and which you end up drawing. And I unfortunately, got the short straw and was diagnosed way early. And out of my whole mother's side of the family, I still to this day have the worst vision out of the entire family that has been diagnosed. So it's real, little I don't know how you put it, random, I guess.
RP seems like a weird one. It can take your peripheral and then take your central, or it can take your central or your peripheral, or it can do like holes and leave you with a blind hole here, like Swiss cheese, like you're looking through Swiss cheese or something.
Working with Foundation Fighting Blindness, because they're just retinal diseases, and like they have the amount of studies that they have going on just for retinal disease, like I didn't realize until I started working with them how different, like just different forms of RP are. Is that some, like, there's different ways you can get it, and it presents so many different ways. It's unreal, especially for something that's so specific to one disease and one part of the eye too.
Yeah, like with Stargard's, I never knew there was different. There's different. I don't know if it's called strains or strands or whatever you call it, but there's different versions of it, of Stargard's, and I have two variations of it, and I have the two rarest variations known to man. Only 3 other people have one of them, and only 5 other people in the world have the other. So, and great, that's the only the people that have.
Does anyone else feel like Dirk just like humble bragged about his disability to a bunch of
No, it's not a good, trust me, this is not a lottery I want to win, believe me. But until they told me this stuff, I thought my vision was bad because I spent too much time in the sun on the boat, but that apparently had nothing to do with it.
Then you figured out a way to give yourself number 1.
Well, hell, for a long time, when I was about 7 years old, I was climbing over a fence and the top of the slat broke, and I went head first, took a header straight into a pile of rocks. Had to get 14 or 15 stitches double layered in my forehead. And this is like back in the 90s before all this science came out and the advancements in the visual world. So for a while we thought it was like an actual physical injury caused visual impairment. And then
you
didn't even know it was RP at first.
Yeah,
because you said your parents should get diagnosed till later, right?
Yeah, I want to say probably like early 2000s, they actually pinpointed the diagnosis.
Wow.
And, actually as of just late, maybe a couple of years ago, they finally were able to pinpoint the exact gene that's been causing it throughout, my mother's side of the family and that bloodline. But you're right, though. It's amazing what the advancements and the visual world and where it's come, and it's makes you optimistic. That's for sure.
That's wild.
Coming out, but
that's wild that they can narrow. I mean, I guess it makes sense that they can narrow down to the specific gene that does this, but like how far we've come, like you said, since you took that header to now is insane.
Yeah. No, I think that header did jumble some stuff up in my brain, though.
Well, I mean, you're a hockey player,
right?
Yeah.
You basically took a hockey injury at 7.
Yeah.
My dad would say it knocked some sense into you.
Yeah, I'm sure my dad has said that too.
Yeah. That would have been so much better in the Emperor's voice.
Well, so did you play hockey prior to, I mean, how long have you played hockey? When did you get into it?
Yeah, I've played hockey my whole life. Basically around the age between 5, 6, I think I started as a little mini mite, and then went up through pretty much bantams, a little bit after bantams, I think. So I got into, once peewees, bantams, and all the contact started, to be applied in the game, over time, it just, without peripheral, man, I was just getting, I remember the end of my sided hockey career, which is, early high school. I was getting my freaking head taken off, especially that age when you're
I can't imagine without peripheral.
That age, and you know what? And still hockey was that way at that time too.
Yeah.
Like it was still kind of before they really started trying to take out those, try to kill you hits.
Yeah.
Yeah. The good old days.
It's funny because we're having this conversation and how camp went because we have the 2 or 3, you and him had one, right? Me and you had one.
You and I, we had it. Well, actually, shit, yeah, all 3 of you.
No, me and you had. I hit you 2 or 3 times on one. I hit you 3 times on one shift, man.
And hey, man,
only once was on purpose.
Goes with the brag.
Hey, man, you ended up on top of me.
Yeah.
No, I lined up for a face-off and I saw Nick and I'm like, oh, good, this is gonna be fun. And he had yellow socks and a black jersey, so he was easy to follow. And so I just followed those yellow socks and just tortured him up one side of the ice and down the other.
Yeah, we've definitely all had our fair share of collisions. Dirk, you and I, we've had a handful. Josh, camp, we had 2 good ones, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And Drew,
at least they were not. At least we were on different teams at that point.
Yeah, at least we weren't no friendly.
Before we got put on the same line.
The worst one at camp though was me and Charlie, dude. That head-on collision, dude. God, he knocked the wind out of me so bad.
Yeah, Charlie's a brick house.
Oh man, he is, dude.
So Nick, you were telling us about your last game of sided hockey before we got on to Kirk and Josh being wrecking balls at events.
Hey, you too.
Hey, Nick hit me.
Yeah, so did Keith.
Yeah. So back to Nick.
And then someone tried to like sit on me like the last day at camp. I remember that. Bent my neck backwards or something.
Huh.
But yeah, at the end of the sided hockey career, it was like every single game, man. I remember multiple times, I'd be playing the point. I was always a defensive player. And it was always those hits where you'd be trying to keep the puck in the zone. You're looking down, trying to fire the puck back into the zone. And then some winger just charging at you. And then you look up, and next thing you know, it's like cage to cage, and you're just getting sent backwards, flat on your back. And those types of hits, I just never saw them coming. And it took a beating. And at a certain point, I was like, and also after one game, I always joke with Dan Schramm about this because we're pretty much the same age. And I grew up playing with a team called Boulder Valley Bison in Colorado. And we played Vail a lot. And Dan Schramm played up in Vail, sided hockey growing up. And I fractured a vertebrae at a game up in Vail. Some guy checked me from behind, right in the numbers, maybe 4 feet from the end boards behind my net. And I went head first into the boards and compressed my lower L4 or something.
Jeez.
I had to wear one of those hard casts that goes down like the left leg for a little while. And God, I could barely stand up straight for like 2 months.
Crap,
You want me to beat Dan up for you?
Are you going to tell me this is
I'll put him into the Dan and I go at it for sure.
Yeah. No, hockey was very different back in those days, that's for sure.
Yeah. And especially that age when you got a bunch of teenagers full of testosterone.
High schoolers, Jesus.
So I gotta ask, did you always play the way that you play now? Has your game changed since you moved into blind hockey?
I think certain points of it definitely. For the most part, though, I think my game's kind of always been the same. I'm a bit of a wild card, rambunctious, just running around kind of like a chicken with his head cut off still.
I was going to say that I like talking to you, knowing you, your demeanor, you're very laid back, like you're very chill. And then as soon as you get on the ice, I like you and Dirk and Dan and Luke are some of the toughest board battles I've ever been in my entire life. And it always surprises me when it's you, because like I'll go into the corner and then there will just be, I'll expect like Charlie or Dirk, and then I look up and it's you there, and you're like, it's a crazy switch. It's a crazy switch. I don't think people would understand hockey Nick if they only knew you as a person. If that makes sense.
I get that. Yeah, that's funny. You mentioned the battles and the boards, man. The corners. That I think is still my favorite part of the game.
I love the corners.
Yeah, growing up, that was always my jam. Back behind our own net, getting rough and trying to toss people around. I don't know if I can toss any of you guys around, but
no, you can. You did. I was there. No, but I think it's a good. I personally need to learn to play blind hockey the way that I played sided hockey, because I think that I still have this hesitancy of like, oh, they're blind guys. Like, I don't want to go full speed and hit somebody, which is kind of why I got a concussion at the Classic, because I looked up and I saw Keith, so I pulled up, and then his head and shoulders connected with my chin. And so it's just one of those that it's silly, because there's the guys that I'm playing against are you guys. Like, that's the same way you play the game. And I think that for me, and maybe this is just extrapolating from nothing. Like my vision loss was so abrupt. It was 6 months. I went from fully sighted to legally blind. And so I don't think I ever had that time to cope with, like, I am a visually impaired person, I am a legally blind person. So I think to some extent, I still play and I'm like, oh, I can see everything. And then these guys can't see anything. And, do you think that growing up playing hockey while visually impaired, like you said, gave you coping mechanisms, but also made you kind of move into blind hockey a little bit easier than if you came from like mine or Josh's shoes?
Yeah, I think so. I took about, I want to say it was almost 15 years that I didn't really play hockey at all. I'd get out and I'd do a little stick and puck or whatever, but like basically most of high school, all of college, and then really up until 2019 when I went to the Minnesota, the Summit down in St. Paul, I hadn't really played competitive, a few drop-ins or whatever here and there. And it caught on like pretty quick. I think the advantage that I had going into blind hockey was I still knew how to skate. Gameplay though, and like the actual hockey IQ, I lost a good chunk of that, and just my vision of the fluidity of the actual game and the chemistry between positions, I definitely lost that quite a bit. And then when I found out about blind hockey and started to play that, it was almost a bit of a shock going into it because it was still pretty damn quick. And like I'd have the puck and I think I'd have way more time. And next thing you know, it's hockey. It's fast. It's always going to be fast. But I think the pace of blind hockey was a little surprising when I first started. Granted, I also hadn't been like training for hockey for over a decade. So, I was pretty out of shape. And then we went to, 2019, October or November, we went up to Ottawa. And that was my first real experience with blind hockey playing against Canada. And obviously, you guys know we got our shit rocked.
Yeah.
At that point, I was like, okay, this is still the same game. It's still just as fast.
How did you find out about it? Did we already answer that?
So it was actually my ex-girlfriend, who's still one of my best friends ever, Lindsay Check. She saw something online. She was doing whatever research on a computer, and all of a sudden this thing pops up because we almost moved to Duluth way back when, and she saw this thing in St. Paul, Minnesota Blind Hockey Summit, and like, hell yeah, let's go check it out. And I had my freaking pair of Eastons that I had, the skates I'd been in for like 15 years and hadn't put them on and since like high school, and had a pair of old Vic Breezers and just like the trashiest, oldest gear. Went out there, and yeah, the rest is freaking history, man. Yeah, Med, were you out there, Dirk?
Yeah, that was the first time I met. That was the first time Schramm came too, right? That was Schramm.
I met
Yeah,
Schramm.
yeah. They put me against him. They're like, yeah, Dirk, we're going to put you on defense, and we're going to put all the best players we have on one line against you and see how you do. And oh yeah, by the way, we're going to film it. And all the coaches are. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks, yeah. And so then I'm all jacked up and ready to like just take out anything that touches the puck. And here comes Schramm, 100 miles an hour, and friggin' I gave him his first blind hockey hit. But
yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I don't remember if I met you that tournament or not though.
Yeah, I'm not. I know I met Belding and Steinicke, Schramm. Keith was there.
I think we played on the same line for at least a couple shifts.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
You, me, and Emily on a line.
Oh, I think it's a tournament I met you, Drew. I think I met you in line somewhere. We were standing at lunch in line and I heard you talking.
Yeah. Maybe.
That was the first time I met you in person.
I've had 2 concussions since then. I can't remember.
Yeah. I've never had a concussion. I really suck.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure that you, of all people, has never had a concussion.
No, I have. No, not even when they knocked my tooth out in high school.
You only give them? You don't take them?
No, I've never had a concussion. I've crashed snowmobiles. I've totaled snowmobiles and walked away without a bruise.
Good Lord. And Dirk's never had a concussion. Dirk's never been diagnosed with a concussion.
Yeah. Who goes to doctor? I mean, do you have to go to a doctor to get diagnosed with a concussion, or
talk to the trainer?
Diagnosed. You can get a concussion anywhere.
Okay, that could have slowed things down a little bit. But if I had concussions, clearly there's no side effect, no damage.
So, Nick, this brings up the interesting part of the story. So, since you were out of hockey for so long, let's go with the timeline to now how you're driving the Zamboni as a blind guy.
Yeah, that's I don't know, man. I think so. I still have. I probably have some of the better acuity still out of any of us. I'm like 20/400 in my right eye. Probably getting close to 20/450 in my left. So I still have a little bit of that central focal point. And if you've ever driven a Zamboni, one thing, there's no traffic on the ice. There shouldn't be anything on the ice. So you've got a ton of space, to drive around. The biggest thing that I run into is like when you're looking down your driver's side, you're basically looking within like a 5 square inch line of sight just to match up your lane. It does get tough when, especially on this outdoor rink we have, the freaking glare, like the sun glare. That gets real tough. I started basically resurfacing and driving a Zamboni in 2016, and so it's been about almost 8 years. I'm going into my 8th winter at the rinks up here. Once you get it down, though, it's all muscle memory. And
I mean, I drove for a while. It's driving, and it's driving, and it's the mechanics of it too. My issue. And so the rink that we're actually playing in Jersey is the rink I grew up at. And it basically, I don't know if you heard about, the Superstorm Sandy, the one that basically put New York City underwater.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, I mean, put this rink on, destroyed this rink too. Because it is a roof with no walls. So basically it got completely into a refrigeration system. Mm-hmm. But they had a guy from the local community, wasn't a hockey guy, was into refrigeration, came back in and convinced, because it's a municipal rink, they convinced the town to reopen it. And I've told him multiple times, and I'm like, dude, I will. And he's always looking for Zam drivers. And I told him, I was like, if I go and find a right-hand drive Zam, because for me, my vision's mine's 20/40, so I have really good acuity, really, really small visual field, but my visual field's in the right spot that I can actually catch. The one thing that I really need to be worried about is if I'm on the right side, that line of sight that I need to catch the boards. So that's why when I was like, and I told him, I'm like, hey, one of my Team USA teammates drives a Zamboni. And he's like, no, he doesn't. I'm like, oh, I swear he does. So I was like, so now you got to find me a right-hand drive one. But you were kind of back into hockey before you did find blind hockey then.
Yeah. Yeah, I started taking care of these rinks up here, in 2016. And, it kind of came to a point where I'd been like working in kitchens and, all that kind of stuff. And there's one point in time where I accidentally like stabbed my my line cook.
And I thought you were gonna say yourself.
Well, that too, yeah.
That's
happened.
But that happens more often.
I burned myself so many times, like freaking hot fryer oil and ovens and just cramped kitchen. I just had to get out of kitchens, and so I found out about the rinks. Moved down into the same condo that I still live in. Found the rinks and started working. Started driving, learned pretty much everything there is to know about ice rink refrigeration and resurfacing, and the mechanics of a Zamboni or Olympia is what we use. Same thing, just Canadian made. But and I freaking love it, man. Like, I live and breathe ice like every single day, all day long. I'm in the ice rink, doing whatever it might be. And I'm the maintenance manager, so I've got a few guys underneath me that are resurfacers. But I oversee everything refrigeration wise, the compressors, the condensers, and a lot of that stuff is nice with a visual impairment because it's a lot of hands-on. It's a lot of, I can tell you the difference just by feeling a 5/8 bolt from a 1/2 inch bolt. It's a lot of just mechanical intuition and just knowing how things work. A lot of sound. I'll tell you right off the bat if something is breaking or if the engine room sounds real whack. I'll probably be one of the first people to notice it. And then obviously the smell of anhydrous ammonia, you can't miss that.
Nope.
That'll catch you real good. But yeah, man, just being around rinks is super fun. Obviously free ice time too.
Yeah.
It's one of the
There's the perk.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's really like we talk to a lot of people from our community, and a lot of our younger players start and listen to this stuff, and like the fact that like you can go get a degree in mechanical engineering and run a hockey rink, like as a blind person, you're completely capable, and we're in our element. Like, this is where we belong. So I think that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think as far as the timeline goes, is a little up in the air. I don't know how much longer I'll be able to do this. It'll get to a certain point where it'll start getting a little too dangerous for not only myself but other people around. And like, my boss knows it. Everyone knows about my eye condition, and obviously they know about Team USA and playing blind hockey, and the support around here being a part of the rinks is absolutely incredible. I talk about you guys and the team all the time, and every tournament that comes up, people are watching it on the live stream, and it's an awesome community. Just being around not only a bunch of hockey players, also the figure skaters. Like, I've learned so much about just ice skating in general.
Figure skaters are twice as skaters we'll ever be.
And you want to learn how to use your edges. You take a couple lessons from a figure skater.
Yeah. Dude, I was just getting back into hockey, and I took my first private lesson, and this kid, he goes, "It's really obvious you grew up playing hockey. It's also very obvious it wasn't ice." And I was like, "Yeah, dead on." And he's like, "Let me tell you the one greatest thing my parents ever did for me." He goes, "It got me a private lesson with a figure skater." And I'm like, "Really?" And he goes, "Well, think about it." I go, "Oh no, it makes complete sense. They don't have to play hockey. They just figure skate. Mm-hmm. And I took one. The girl that does it at my local rink and Dirk's worked with her when he was in Jersey. She's been to multiple Olympics, and she taught me edges. I had an outside edge in like 2 lessons, but they know, and they know how to teach it because it's what they do. Yeah. And that my mother was obsessed with figure skating, so I grew up. I grew up on the movie The Cutting Edge. That's what I grew up on. Oh, yeah. So the respect for figure skating is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. What was that like? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say we do go to like Utica.
I know. Yeah.
Utica is, for being right in the middle of the Northeast, is about as impossible to get to as you can get.
Utica and Buffalo, like that is probably 2 of the hardest places for me to get to.
Adam's the only way Adam could get to Buffalo was to go to JFK. I'm like, this is stupid, dude. I'll meet you at JFK.
Yeah, I forget. I think I flew into LaGuardia I flew into LaGuardia and then drove up, I think, with my parents because we have family in New York. Swung by grandma's house and then drove the 5 hours up to.
Yeah.
And what was that like for you? I know you breezed over it saying that we got our butts kicked by Canada, but what was that like for you and your family to see you put on the red, white, and blue the first time and play against Canada?
It just like hearing you say that sends shivers up my spine, and my parents were just couldn't be more thrilled. You know, they know my whole hockey career, and my brother too. Like, we've been a hockey family my whole entire life, and to see that getting taken away from me and then have it come back with the blind hockey and Team USA is just, it's almost surreal still. It's like, yeah, it's the most amazing, honorable thing to ever happen. And just my whole family is so freaking proud and thrilled to have me playing competitively too, you know, traveling and playing against the best country to ever play the sport. You know, we'll beat those Canadians one day.
We will. It's coming soon.
Oh yeah. But yeah, to wear those colors, man, it's
quite a trip.
Yeah. Absolutely amazing. So, but
I got a question because Drew brought something up last episode, and it happened to me with Schramm the same way it happened to me with you. Is that Drew made the point that it's really obvious that Schramm's played high level hockey and kind of is expecting a lot for people to be in specific points in specific places and be moving with him. And it's funny because Schramm and I were so close to the same page, but just a little off on all the timing and everything. Mm-hmm. And it was so funny because it was like you and I were playing on the same line. We were on the same page, but just a little off. So it just wasn't there. Do you feel like you can kind of see it in those players who kind of really did play a lot growing up, and it's a little bit easier to kind of read them and understand where they are? And do you kind of see that it's like a different, you can kind of discern it between some groups, between players who kind of played with sighted hockey growing up and have that, 90s hockey in them like you do and Schramm does and I do and Dirk does? Do you feel like that kind of helps, especially with you and I who have such limited visual field that we're we got to pick where we're going and that's pretty much it?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I think it's a lot to do with knowing how plays form and the fluidity and positioning. You can definitely tell, with a player like Schramm, Luke, Tim, they just kind of know where to be. And it's a lot of that anticipation as a play is forming, say you got a winger wrapping around behind the net, you're typically not going to go straight into the same corner as your winger. You're going to kind of be moving with him. I think growing up playing sided hockey, that is a pretty big advantage. And especially over time, with playing with certain people, it becomes just more natural. If you get out there, with someone you've been playing with for years and years, where they're going to go with the puck, and where you should be, to make that pass. And yeah, it does become tough though when, like you said, all the different variations of visual impairment, whether it's no visual field, whether it's complete lack of acuity, the mixture of all the different visual impairments, I think, makes it hard for each player to anticipate the flow of a single play and try to be in that exact right spot at the right time. Like me, without the visual field, if I'm skating with the puck, I can't see who is with me, where anyone else is going, because I'm focused on carrying the puck. And to be honest with you, I don't have the silkiest mitts, boys. Especially with the big puck, it's tough.
I think you win in this group, though. I think he 100% survey says I think we all give it to Nick in this group.
No, I'm going to challenge him to a one-on-one next time.
I'm putting the GoPro on. I'm going to record this from skating behind you. The third-person view. And I mean, and I think it's just that, and I think that's kind of what it was, and it really dawned on me when I was playing with Shram. Like with you, it was kind of bothering me that like I knew exactly what you were doing, but we were just, because we didn't have experience playing with each other, we were relying on what we kind of knew about hockey, and we're basically on the same page, but just a little bit off. Mm-hmm. And the one play with Shram that gave it all away, Shram was playing right D and was kind of going diagonal to break it out of the zone. And it's at the top of the zone, so we were coming through the neutral zone. So I was kind of coming diagonal from left to right to fill in that right lane. And I'm waiting for Shram to give it to me, And the second I turned my head to say, all right, he's keeping it, I'm going to go wider, is when it's in my skates. And I was like, yeah, there it is.
Yeah. There's always
for a second I was like, yeah, I was waiting for that. I was waiting. And then I looked up and it's there. And I really think that's kind of like a lot of us all know it's getting the knowing each other along with kind of knowing that sided hockey, but that's where I feel like it's that advantage because you expect it there and you know where to be, but it's that next step of really getting used to each other, and I think that's kind of where we were too in camp.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the whole chemistry is always growing, with each other. And it takes time. Like, heck, you remember last year when the Rangers put out Patrick Kane and he didn't do a darn thing. It's like, yeah, because you guys have never played with him. We've always tried to take his head off because he's got 3 cups with the Blackhawks. And I think he got like 1 goal in the playoffs or something. There's no chemistry between those players and Patrick Kane.
Funny. Yeah. I actually had this conversation on the bench at Open the other day. Like, they stuck him in Mika Zibanejad that spot on the power play because he was Patrick Kane and ruined their power play was insane. They ruined the entire power play because of that. And that's what lost them the Devils series, was because they wanted to depend on talent as opposed to just put Kane in where he belongs and leave everything together. So
exactly.
And that's another thing, us going up against Canada. We're talking about a lot of us who really have that experience where all of them have that experience. Mm-hmm. Like, they grew up with almost every one of them grew up with feet and skates. So, and they had that, the ones that grew up with sight had that learned hockey experience that a lot of us are having that conversation about. We're still trying to teach a lot of our community in the U.S. about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you look at, the few guys on Canada, you can tell they've played with each other for years and years, and they're out there all the time together, and maybe not all the time. I don't really know how much they all practice together, but they they very well know each other's style of play, their positioning, and where. Like you watch Serbu and I'm blanking the shorter kid's name.
Richard.
Simone.
Yeah, him and who's the centerman?
Juha,
yeah. Like those three guys, they all know where each other are going to be at. Every single face-off, every single play. See Juha every time go down behind the net, look for that open pass up in the slot. It's it's like second nature, at a certain point. Yeah, that's why, I wish all of us, we could get together more often. Our game would increase. Who the hell knows? Like freaking tenfold, man. If we were out on the ice like once a month all together.
It'd be nice.
We gotta make pilgrimages to Idaho, like Field of Dreams for hockey.
Yeah.
I was gonna say obviously, skating, the national team skating together helps get that gel going, get the chemistry going. But I do think that a certain extent of it is also that the bulk of our players aren't also playing in other leagues or they're not playing in men's leagues or in high school or things like that. They're just playing blind hockey with their team, which is 4 people. So they're not getting that opportunity to get the game sense, to get the hockey IQ. And I think that's a huge thing for Canada because that's their practices. Once a week they play a game.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And so then it's, if we're taking US, as the examples, like then it would be you teaching Brock in the game and then you're playing each week together. And then, so I think that's also where that kind of knowing where to be comes from in Canada because they're just doing it more.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. I hop out. I'm not on any men's league this season. Just with work, it's ironic, working at an ice rink and you're just always kind of working, and it's tough to actually get out and play the game sometimes. But it is a really good thing to get out, whether it's just a drop in with 8 or 12 guys, just to get that game sense and that hockey IQ flowing, and your positioning. And, drop ins in men's leagues can kind of be all over the place sometimes. People are hopping the bench and going and playing D. You're like, well, I was playing D, get up there, play wing. Like, oh, but it's a good thing too, swapping around and getting familiar with each position and where you should be at a certain point in time. It's like me playing center. I've never played center in my life, but after the 3-4 years or whatever playing center in blind hockey and now trying it out in certain drop-ins, it's starting to slowly click. I'm not trying to be like the most goal scoring center. I'm still a bit of a defensive center, if you want to say it that way, but the fluidity and like the cycling and just where to be at a certain point in time, breaking out especially. And center's also a lot of skating. Oh man.
A lot of skating.
Yes, it is.
That is 200 feet back and forth all the way. But yeah, it's just over time getting used to each position and knowing where to be is huge. And like you said, Josh, growing up, is definitely an advantage. I think one of the conflicts that does come up between players that have played in the past, and then players that just found out about hockey and blind hockey and started right with blind hockey, is certain times I think myself, I'm sure Dan and you guys, you think how a play should be going, and you'll be set up, you'll be in a position, but other players aren't quite familiar with, a certain breakout routine or certain zone entry setups. Or if you go like special teams, you see so many different styles, whether it's that umbrella or just that, star shape and moving with each other as one unit. I think that's where a lot of certain cases in blind hockey, people get out of position. I'm definitely guilty of it. Playing center, I'll be way out of position sometimes, like, oh shit, I should be way over in freaking lane 3 or something, and got a winger and a defensive man and then a center all crumpled up on the same side of the ice. Positioning is it's huge in hockey overall. Just knowing where you should be, knowing where your teammates are. It's a difficult part, especially in blind hockey.
Yeah. And it comes back to the different visual disabilities too, because, like you're saying, I'm with you. I have no peripheral. I have a very small tunnel that I see out of. So for me, it was a big adjustment because playing growing up, I relied on my peripheral for everything in hockey.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, I got to make sure I'm constantly looking back and forth, making sure I know at least where people were. I know they move after you look away. But I've definitely found that blind hockey is a much more reactive sport than it is like a set play sport, at least at this time. Everyone's just kind of making those snap decisions and hoping for the best. It's where like an attack plan, like when we grew up playing, when you did practices, you knew as a center, this was your responsibility doing X, Y, and Z. And as a defenseman, it was X, Y, and Z. And then it kind of intermingles with each other depending on the situation. But right now, we don't really have anything in that kind of framework. So I think people are just like, oh, well, it's a breakout. I just need to go. Where it's like maybe you need to curl back, maybe you need to watch for X, Y, whatever it is. But I think that we're moving. It's definitely gotten a lot better since even 2019. I think people are gaining that hockey sense a little bit faster. It can be frustrating too. Yeah, like you throw it to the slot and you expect someone to be there, but they're all 5 feet away from you. You're like, well, this helps no one.
No, but I'm here for a pass.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think that's part of the growing process. We're still babies as far as like the programs and the development. And right now we're at the like see puck go kind of phase. And I think as we're evolving and guys like us start passing on, hey, you need to do this or that, then I think that's going to help those young guys evolve more. And be better.
Yeah, I can't wait to see a team, come 2030, when some of these kids that are starting off just now and 18 years old. Yeah, it's just takes time, and I guess the nice part about the sport right now is, as far as growing it, there's so many just local teams and groups out there right now. And I swear every year there's just more and more, and it's freaking awesome.
Yeah. You need to get one out going in Idaho, man.
Yeah, no, I've been trying. It's a little bit slow right now, but I've been working a little bit with the CAF of Idaho down in Boise, and Yeah, things are kind of starting to click. I've got help out with what is it, the Northwestern Blind Athlete Association or something. But there's
I saw something about that.
Yeah, so there's been some good collaboration going on, and Boise is definitely obviously a bigger populace and a lot more people down there suffering from visual impairment. Where up here it's a little tough. There's I only know one other person in this entire county that I live in up here that has like an actual visual impairment. He's also got I think a silver and a gold medal in Nordic skiing.
Nice.
Jake Adikoff, if you ever hear that name.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So how about for an Idaho blind hockey team, the Spuds have eyes?
It hurts my brain.
The sightless Spuds.
Hey man, I will admit it on the podcast. I used ChatGPT to figure out the word derby. Josh said Jersey Daredevil and couldn't figure out what word to use after it. I was like, derby. Yeah, it's taken 2 months for me to figure out that word. Never used AI before, and that figured out like half the nonprofit things I've done this week. It's epic.
Oh, great. Really? Nice.
Oh, yeah. They completely wrote a fundraising letter, which I had to, add in the stuff to actually talk about blind hockey. Because, AI doesn't really know what blind hockey is, but they used a lot of really nice words.
Oh, man. Using technology to their advantage.
Yeah.
What it's all about, though,
Yeah.
Oh, man. It was nice catching up with you, dude.
Yeah. No, this has been awesome, guys.
So I wanted to ask one last question. Nick, when we were at camp in Nashville, you and I were talking, and I brought up Hillary Knight, and you said that you know her and you skate with her, which I'm still jealous of, and I think I told my wife as soon as I got home. That would be my top person to meet. But it sounds like in the place that you work, that's kind of a norm for caliber of skate. Maybe it's in the off season or anything like that. Who have you met in your time there that like really you're like, I can't believe I met you, or this was really cool, or you learned something from?
Yeah, well, I will say Hillary is definitely one of the best people I've ever met. Obviously, one of the best friggin' hockey players I've ever had the privilege of skating with. She's off, now captain of the women's Olympic team and training. She's all over the place in Minnesota and doing her TV circuit with ESPN and all that wild stuff. Also, like the nicest lady. So freaking nice. She's a beast too.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Oh yeah.
I would probably put her at least. Well, as far as skating goes, she's got to be number one. And to say that like she's a friend of mine is, I feel very honored to be able to say that. There is quite a handful of Olympic figure skaters that have kind of made not their careers out of this place, but we do. Summertime is it's a very unique time as far as ice rinks go out here. We run about a 4-month, nothing but figure skating training camp in the summertime. We do ice shows every Saturday night from July 4th until Labor Day. But there's a few, obviously retired now. Lisa Marie Allen is a good friend of mine. She's got 5th in the 1980 Olympics. Judy Bloomberg. And these ladies are also coaches. They coach figure skating still. Most of them do. Linda Fradiani She got silver in the 1980 Olympics. And then as far as like we normally bring out really up and coming or high end figure skating headliner for all of our ice shows every Saturday night. One of the best is Nathan Chen. I'm sure you guys have heard that name before.
Yep.
The king of quads, super nice guy, and just real humble. And talk about, I swear the guy's made out of like freaking rubber bands. Just the way he skates, and seeing him skate in person is out of this world. Like, you want to talk about edges and being, this freaking, he's like 25, 26. Kid's got hops for a white guy. Holy crap. He just jumps so high. Yeah, as far as the skating world, it's mainly a lot of the figure skaters. Yeah, Hillary. I did maybe 5 years ago. We have a senior adult hockey team out here, which is like real competitive, full contact, really fun hockey to watch. They're called the Sun Valley Suns. And they play a team every year called they wear the Boston Gutter Snipes or the Northeastern Gutter Snipes. They used to be the Boston Moose Knuckles, I think, back in the day.
Boston Moose Knuckles, I like that.
Nothing like an upgrade to Gutter Snipes from Moose Knuckles.
There's a team named Drew, the Blind Gutter Snipes.
Yeah. But a few years ago, they had every now and again this league. Some of the teams they'll get like an ex-NHL player. I did get to meet Scott Gomez, big old guy, an ex-New York Ranger, was out here. And man, that guy's freaking huge.
Who said Scott Gomez, ex-New York Ranger? God.
Yeah, maybe not like the
wasn't he on New Jersey at one point too?
Oh yeah, Gomer won 2 cups with the Devils. I was
going to say the first thing I thought of when I heard his name was, I'm like, the first thing I thought of was Devils. Yeah,
he was around the circuit on the East Coast there.
Yeah, yeah, Gomez.
He seems like that type of guy to be playing the senior circuit too.
Yeah.
He was a heck of a hockey player.
Yeah,
that sounds really cool though. Just getting, I feel like I'm not alone in my thoughts that I hate skating on the same ice at the same time as figure skaters, but like watching them skate and watching everything that they can do is, I could never do it, even when I was, really in shape and playing every day. Like, there's no way. Is the spinning and then the jumping with more spinning and then the landing
and no stick. Where's the stick? They don't have a hockey stick to lean on. I'm totally unbalanced. I don't know about you guys, but I'm unbalanced without a stick, man. I feel weird with no stick.
Your third point of contact.
Yeah, the third leg.
I need that third. Yeah, I need my stick, man.
But there's nothing like skating, like playing stick and puck to public skating music.
Oh man.
Billy Madison vibes all day.
Oh yeah.
Well, I just had to ask about that because I was interested to know who all kind of cycles through your rinks and all that fun stuff. But like Josh said, dude, it's really been great to have you on and get to talk to you a little bit and learn a little bit more.
Thank you guys. Yeah, this is awesome. It's been it's always been too long since talking with you guys too, and any of the boys. Hopefully things will start mellowing out after the holidays, and 2024 is going to be a good year.
Oh yeah.
Amen.